Hello, world, and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast, episode 514, as he looks to the side to check his document. My name's Adam Cook, and I'm your host for this episode, and I'm joined by Chris Hyde and Lyle Carr. Hello, both.
Hi, both of us. Yeah.
How are you guys
Keep us on
doing?
our toes.
You
Well,
good?
I feel like I'm losing my second in command role here a little bit because you've promoted him. But
That's
yeah,
not so
whatever.
much that, right? To make it every
Well-
single week we do this live, if people don't know, and every single, well, I say every single week, when we turn up, we do this live.
Yeah.
and we do it via video, if you don't know, on youtube.com/godisageek, and that's me producing whilst hosting live, and it's a real pain in the arse because I always, every single week, I'll say hello Chris, and I'll cut to just you on camera, and then you'll say how are you, and I'll forget to cut back to me, and then I've got to introduce Lara, and you see it's this technical stuff that if I just introduce you both, we're all
There's
on
laziness
screen.
on your part.
I would say unprofessionalism, but I'll take laziness.
Okay.
That's fine.
Which would you rather have? So laziness rather than unprofessionalism?
I think, well, to stop playing the character of Adam for just a few seconds, I think laziness is probably more accurate than unprofessionalism, because I'm nothing if not professional. I think that's fair to say. But everyone's good, everyone's all right, happy, playing great games at the moment?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's see, shall we?
I think you'll find out soon enough that we have been playing great games. Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see, shall we? Let's just jump into it, because we've all been playing Resident Evil 4 Remake. It's not out yet, though, but we can talk about it. It's out. We've reviewed it. Well, Lyle's reviewed it. It's here.
I've reviewed it. It's here. It's been played. It'll be out for everyone in like a week, and you can all be excited too. But basically, right, Resident Evil 4, that game that came out on the GameCube originally.
Hang on. I think people might need to sit down before they get this, because this is going to be a revelation. So before, I'm interrupting Lyle deliberately, because you need to sit down and be prepared for this bold statement from Lyle. He's said a lot over the years on this podcast. We all know that. This may be the boldest
Remember
thing
the
yet.
Pokemon Snap years.
Yeah, go for it, Lyle.
Carry on.
Break it down.
Okay. So Resident Evil 4 back on the GameCube, brilliant game. We all loved it. Everyone ever loved it, pretty much. It was like ridiculously well loved as a game, and now they finally remade it after they've been doing, they did the remake of 2 and the remake of 3, and now they've arrived at 4. Forgot about 1, but ignore that for now. It's here, and it's better than the original in every way, and maybe the best remake I've ever played.
I'm not sure if that will make people angrier than if you'd said it was shit. Actually, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if you'd gone on the
Oh
remake,
no!
it's
If he
absolute
come out
disgrace.
with a 6.5, as good as Breath of the
But
Wild.
saying it's better than the original is like, I think that might make people angrier.
It might do.
I mean,
they're welcome to be angry at me.
People will be angry about anything these days.
They will, but I mean, it's out. I've played the full thing now. I've spent a long time with this game, and basically, I didn't think I could love Resident Evil 4 as a game more than I already did, because it was my first Resident Evil. I think I mentioned that when we did our little preview video a few weeks ago. So it was this big moment for me of like finally being like deciding I was brave enough for a horror game, which I didn't think I was ready for at the time. Now I'm older and more chiseled, so it's all good. But yeah, like playing it again, they've basically everything's updated. It's beautiful to look at. Everything's smoother, the controls are smoother and fantastic, and a lot's changed really. Nothing like too drastic in terms of like you're going to the same places. Like if you've played the original Resident Evil 4 on any of the various platforms it came to,
a million releases.
Every one of those releases, like
even in VR, even in VR,
yeah, even in VR, you're not going to like you're not going to play this and not know what's happening, or arrive in an area and be like, oh my god, that's new. But enough is shuffled around that it feels different. I think one of the biggest differences really is like there's probably double the enemies at the very least. Like
certainly feels like it. I mean, someone I'm sure will count them and go, well, it had 16 and it had 15, and it certainly feels like more.
it feels
It definitely, it feels like they're in the sections where it's like waves, like where it's where you have to survive a wave of incoming enemies, if you like. It feels like there's I mean, it might just be because I'm older. I'm like, come on, let's just get through it. But like, it felt like
hang on. because you've brought something up. I thought we would get to a little bit later, but I wanted to. I want to. No, no, because it's. I'll forget. I'm old. That's the point. When you start this game, it gives you 2 difficulty options. Okay.
It does.
And one of them, because Lyle started before me, and you said about it says basically if you've played Resident Evil 4 before, right? Yeah. And I obviously I hadn't read the full description, but it does mean the remake. It specifically says it does mean the original game. If you've played the original game before, we recommend you start on essentially hard mode, right?
They do say that, yes.
They're taking the piss, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Because I played through up to that village survival bit, the bit that's in the demo that anyone can play now, where you're surviving in the village. I played up to that point, and I was just about muddling through, like dying against a couple of basic enemies, like fairly regularly up until that point. Got to that village and tried to survive. I must have attempted about 20 times because the game was installing, so like it was letting you play an amount, and that section of the game was part of the amount you could play. So I was playing on this harder difficulty and knew that the game wasn't fully installed yet. So I figured, okay, well, I'll just keep trying on this harder difficulty. 20 times easily I attempted to beat that section, and not a chance. Now, admittedly, when I played through and beat it the first time on the difficulty mode that you should all be fucking playing, I then realised that one of the doors I thought was locked wasn't locked and led to the shotgun, and I think that might have helped me a little bit on the harder difficulty mode.
Yeah. I think the way I would sort of say, because I do think we need to talk about difficulty and stuff in a second in a bit more detail. I'd rephrase the description of the difficulties a little bit, like if you have played Resident Evil 4 since it came out in 2005, this might be a good difficulty for you.
I think so too.
If it's been 15 years since
that's not who they're talking to.
You may as well have not played it, because your muscle memory of all other games that have arrived since are what's going to take precedent. And so, like, I think the way I'd view it is if it's been a while, go on to the, like, you haven't played this game before, and then absolutely when you play it through again, notch it up. I feel like I could take on that mode now.
I definitely
that difficulty. I'd still probably get decked. But
there's a couple of moments where I was tempted to, because if after you've died, there's like, is it called casual? I think it's casual. There's a couple of times. It's quite
nice about it. When you die, it says like change game mode, and then you press it, and it's like, do you want a hand?
There's a couple of times. There's a couple of times where I came very close. Yeah. But the thing is, I think that is a bit of a testament to how the quality of this game is, because you sort of go, I'm just gonna have to drop. No, go on. I can, but you just, because there's so much. It's really odd because although it's a new game, a lot of it is from that old game. You know, you always had this big case full of weapons that you could mix and match. You know, that you could put stuff on them, scopes and stocks and blah blah blah. It was always there, but it's a real testament to how tuned the sort of default is, that you come close. You come so close, but then you're like, no. And you still might die again, but you do it. And I have not yet. And I'll tell you what, there is a boss one. I won't talk about him just because this will be someone's first time. I mean, like, I was in fact speaking to like Sean Smith, who writes for us, his stepson. It is his first time playing Resident Evil 4, so I wouldn't want to ruin it for anyone. But there is a boss, and I came damn close, and I'm really glad I didn't do it, and I carried on and beat it. And I actually beat it without even having to use a health pack in it, or any kind of health in the end, like no herbs, no nothing. And it's like I was just not getting it right. I was getting the weapons wrong. I was relying on the wrong weapons, and that must be a difficult thing to design, even a new game, when you give someone so many tools and you've got a kind of a critical route in mind. This is how you really kill this thing quick. But you've given people all these options. And this is kind of what I was talking about difficulty the other week, how that it's not easy. This game nails it for me. And I also want to shout out, there was a long time where people would dread the word escort mission. Right, in the game, like if don't give me an escort mission, don't I mean, I'm thinking of like Assassin's Creed, where you'd be on the top of the rooftops or something, or creeping through bushes, but you can't be seen because it's essentially an escort mission. In this, there's like large portions of the game where you're with Ashley, and like, look, there's times when she'll go down, and then like if you don't pick her up quickly and one more hit, she's dead. And there are times where you're like, fucking hell, like, but generally
keep up, love. Got places to be.
I know you're only like a teen, and I'm a veteran gunslinger, but I actually think even now it's one of the better examples of it gives you enough time to rescue her if she does get picked up. You're never really far enough away, and they've also, I think we can talk about the new stuff with Ashley, can't we? I mean, it's on screen in the B-roll that Capcom provided, so you can click the right stick and sort of tell her to stay or go, and
like a dog.
I was thinking of the Clash, but
in
okay.
fact, if you keep her hidden in somewhere, then you even whistle to get her over.
I know.
Do you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's that in the original, that stuff? Because I was really struggling with another part. There was another part I was really struggling with, and I put her in a locker, and it was much easier because she was not a bother.
But the locker thing, right?
Yeah.
Because in the original Resident Evil, you could literally, there was quite a few sections where you just go, get in the bin, sweetheart.
Get in the bins,
Get in the bin. Let me clear this entire level out of all the enemies, and then I'll get you out and we'll go looting. And that's how you kind of used to do stuff, because she used to just get in the way otherwise. Like you say, get hit and all this sort of stuff. You say, get in the bin, and she'd get in the bin and fine.
Get in the bin.
There's like, well, it literally were. Some of them were looked like skips, right? In the original.
Yeah.
And then,
sorry.
In this game, in the remake, again, you guys might correct me if I'm wrong if I've missed a couple. There's like one.
Well, I've only found one. Yeah.
I can think of 3.
Okay, well maybe I've.
Personally.
Oh shit! No, I did find it. Oh no, did I?
I've only found one area where I can tell her to get in the bin, or the equivalent.
It's not a lot for certain. Like
it's a locker. We're talking about the same area.
Yeah, we're talking about the locker.
A locker in a little shack, so you can deal with the very tough battle. Yeah,
weirdly, there's like 3 lockers in that same house or whatever. But anyway, so you can choose which floor to put her in. But the point I was making is like, even that, like that's like that worked perfectly fine. Like, get in the bin, leave me alone,
please
and I'll
stop
deal
saying
with
get
it.
in the bin.
But even that, with the whole kind of should I stay or should I go thing, that you don't need to tell her to get in the bin, because they've tweaked it to say, actually, we're going to integrate her, like you say, like escort missions into the action, and you can choose whether you kind of embrace killing everything, and she holds back, or she runs with you.
Do you think the changes to the maps have helped that?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of I mean, this won't mean anything if you've never played it, so it's not a spoiler, but I'm thinking of like one of the very early bits with Ashley where you're escaping a church. And I remember that being really tough because she would lag behind you a lot, and they're throwing fire and stuff, and I remember that being awkward. It seems like the distance you have to travel now, while it's still littered with enemies, also the inclusion of stealth means you can kind of get closer to the escape point without, and that's another change. You can stealth kill now, but like that section where you can run and you can tell her stick to me, and she does.
Stick to me, yeah.
That
and you almost know
manageable.
Where she is at any one point, and it's like
in the bin.
So if you come across something at the front, it's like stay back. If you're running from stuff behind, just like stay close. And it's a really simple design, but it means rather than almost like the get out of jail free of just stay in the bin whilst I sort things out, and just forgetting she exists because it's inconvenient for the action that's on the screen, they've actually managed to integrate it really well. Plus, also, let's not forget, she looks like a human being in this game, which is a lovely win.
She does. Yep. And she's like, I feel like she's almost like quite bubbly and charming as a character now.
Yeah. There's a relationship now.
There is, and there's,
not
there's
like
a bit of banter, and it's just it's nice. It's almost nice having her around. Where I remember her in Resident Evil 4 originally, just as like this screechy thing I tried to get out of the way as much as possible.
It's like so yeah, because I remember one of the things in the original Resident Evil 4 was like, I don't know, I love this game, so we're nitpicking now, right? But I just remember the whole Leon thing, right?
Yeah,
real. Oh my god. Like, I'd almost just let him walk through the door and take her off, because like whatever, it's doing my head in. And I didn't. And there have been occasions where, you know, she gets picked up or whatever.
We've seen a video of you shooting it. You shared with us.
So yeah, that may be doing the rounds in the future. But like, at no point did I ever. I've never once been annoyed with her.
No, not at all.
No.
At any point, and there are bits where I thought I might be without spoiling.
Yep. No, I was trying to think of a way round that, but I don't think there is a way round that. But that's a very different section in this new game as well, isn't it?
It is.
And it's really enjoyable. Really enjoyable.
It's what Lyle says, like it's familiar. Like, you know which bits, if you've played the original, you'll know which bits they're replicating, they're paying homage to, you'll recognize the beats. But side by side, some of the bits are quite different, and it feels new and fresh, and it doesn't feel like they've tried to shoehorn the original, you know, faithfully into just a new game. They've gone, well, what could this be if we move that room around or change how this section works or all this sort of stuff? And it just flows better as a result.
Do you know what they've done? It sort of just dawned on me. Do you know how when people get really uppity and angry about a remake or a redo, whether it's a TV show or a film or a game or an album or anything, whenever someone does that, people get really arsey about it because, like, well, it's not my Resident Evil sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And then the sensible people, like most of us, would go, yeah, but that still exists.
This is the thing.
They've kind of done that. They've kind of gone, that still exists, but we're going to take this opportunity to make a better game.
Exactly.
Which
For me, a good remake has to have a purpose. Like, why have you done it?
Yeah. If it's just shiny graphics.
The original exists, right? And let's be honest, the original was pretty damn good.
Well, it exists now in VR. Like, so you've even got that, you know, I can walk around with a shotgun. It's even got that modernized, you know, I have to unlock a door. You know, it has that exist. It's not as good looking as it. I tell you what, if they add VR to this, I'm not playing it.
Yeah,
no way.
Yeah. So for me, really good remakes. I know, really good remakes have to kind of have a purpose and also embrace the things they could do differently and better. I mean, there's not a long list of things this game could do better, but I think there are probably things that we would say, oh, it'd be really good if that was easier, not easier in difficulty, but that was cleaner or that was better or done differently. And they've kind of, again, I don't want to spoil too much, right? But there are things, the differences, the choices that they've made in this game feel intentional and actually kind of solve some of the like niggles that people would have had with a very good game. Yeah, I think anyway. And I don't want to spoil too many of them because no point. Like, people should experience it. But
absolutely, it's also worth noting that there is still some daft, sort of campy silliness
to the hilt, but like, that's why Resident Evil 4 is brilliant. Like, it doesn't give a like you said it in your review, I think, like, it doesn't wrap itself up in the
doesn't
bullshit umbrella law crap.
Yeah, no, it feels
Resident
very
Evil games tie themselves up in knots around trying to make sense. This just goes. I mean, it's literally the president's daughter. I mean, how much can you get?
Do they call her that in the remake?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
because I keep thinking of he calls her like Baby Eagle, which is kind of like
that's the code name. But
but I don't remember him actually. I might be just have missed it, but he calls her Ashley, obviously. But I don't remember the conversations with Hannigan and anything other in the remake as Baby Eagle, and I don't remember the president being.
I think it's sort of like I think very much the beginning of the game. I think it might even be like the proper intro is like that's who she is.
Okay,
but then like for most of the game, it doesn't really need to go into it, I guess, which makes sense. But yeah,
it shouldn't, because it's bloody ridiculous. They send one man in to rescue a person that is the most powerful person in the world's daughter. We're going to send one guy who is definitely not traumatized by previous and isn't being forced at all to be. No,
he's definitely not going in against his will.
No, not at all. He's just. At very few points in this game does he seem like he's not having a good time, though. Let's be real. Like,
I kind of love Leon in the remake.
Leon's great.
Yeah, I kind of love him. Like, I fucking love his sarcasm and his kind of.
It was always like again. Sorry, Lyle, I'm still in some of your thing. Like, the original was full of the witty one-liner type. Some of the to-ing and fro between him and one of the baddies. Again, I won't go into it in the original. It's almost like cringe-worthy, like kind of banter. I think the writing is better in this one, and the voice acting's superb.
There's a specific bit that we had it in a video, so it's not it's maybe a spoiler, but there's a character called Ramon, and there's a bit where he basically, you walk into his courtyard type thing, and he demands you hand Ashley over, and Leon's just like, no.
yeah.
But it's not like that kind of video game, I'll defend it. It's just like, no, she's fine with me. Cheers. Like, it's well done. And of course there is, there was all the talk about like the early stuff in the village where it's like, where did everybody go? I won't even spoil it, but that like, will that be there? Yeah, it will. It is. All of those are there. That I can't think of. I can't think of one. Certainly not one I remember that's missing.
No,
there's one that's changed, and it's not Leon, but it is still in there. But then it's all changed. It's all new. You couldn't take the audio from back then and just go, oh, it's in a 2023 product. It would sound wrong, because we haven't mentioned a certain character. I don't even know. I don't know. It's one of those. It's hard to not jump all over the place, because this game is a lot of moments that I'd hate to spoil.
And it's such a iconic video game. I think anyone who has ever played it from when it released to now will have strong memories about some very iconic moments, characters, etc. And I didn't feel disappointed by any of the characters, any of the story beats throughout the entire game. Like, there wasn't a point where I was like, oh, they changed that a bit from the original and I preferred how it was ever. Like, every time I was like, no, they've fleshed this out. They've made this better, if anything. And I really, really appreciated that. I think for me, the thing that really stuck with me as I was playing is like, every time you sitting down for a session, like I had a few hours and was like, okay, well, I'm going to forge ahead. Like, you'll be playing and there's no sort of moments where you're like doing sort of humdrum walking through corridors and there's like a couple of enemies. Like, it is always you enter the next little area and there's like a massive boss, and then you get past a massive boss and there's like a billion enemies, and then you get past that and there's a huge action sequence, and it's like, but you don't get any time.
You wish it was just a couple of enemies at some point, because you're like, I've got 3 bullets left. Can we just calm the fuck down? But like, no, I this is. I think it's true in the original as well, but I think things just maybe feel a little bit more bombastic in this one. But it's like, in any normal game, you'd have a chapter and you go, okay, that chapter is all about that thing that happens in that chapter. In this game, it's just like, that chapter is that, then that, then that, then that, then that. And they're all brilliant and they're all unique and they flow really well and you'll have a great time. Like, it is insane. Like, and I do think, like, as much as obviously we joke about like, just give me 5 minutes to breathe, I think the balancing in this game is actually really good. Like, you still, I might be low on handgun bullets for a little bit of something, but then I've always got something that I can do.
Yeah,
I was just enough pickups to
I was never out of ammo.
I think there must be something in the code where it's like, if less than X, it
spawns more.
It spawns more frequently.
But that's right. But it's crazy. It just I've never known a game like that. Like, it's so, in that way, it's perfect. Like, I had like loads of ammo, and then I didn't. Then I had none at all. But then it's like the game goes, all right, fair play. But you survived. So do you know what? Smash that barrel there, and there. There's some handgun on the ship. We're just gonna give you it all back. And it's like, cheers. Now I feel good again.
I love that because it never lets you get too comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
no,
unless you're playing on a difficulty that's well beneath your station, right? But generally speaking, like, you get, whenever a point you get comfortable, like, I've got a few red green herbs that's spare, and I've got 50 handgun bullets, and I've got a few grenades. It goes, okay then, and just throws something at you. And you're like, well, no, I've got nothing left. Brilliant, thanks for that.
It knows you were going to need them, and it provides you with them but in a way that you don't feel like that. You don't go like, oh, here we go, boss coming up, because the pacing of it's so clever. It never makes you feel that way.
I always feel like you'd be like, okay, I've got,
there's a boss after this door.
Like, loads of ammo's just dropped. I'm going to go into a boss fight or something. Whereas in this game, you go into a boss fight and go, hang on a minute, what?
I was not ready.
I was not ready for this. But then there'll be stuff around the arena and stuff, and there'll always be enough. And I just think it's a nice way to manage people's like tension and stuff, because you just go, oh, hang on, hang on, like, and as opposed to going boss time. And it's a very different way of doing it, but I just love it. It's so good.
It is. It's fantastic. Like, we should probably also mention a couple of the like actual new mechanics in the game as well. So you've got like bring
us back, Lyle. Bring us back.
I'll bring us back. Don't worry, I got this. I've been thinking about this game a lot. I've been writing about this game. It's all fresh. The knife is it's really impressive. Like, there's a whole load of systems behind the knife that was essentially just like your melee attack that you would use when an enemy was stunned originally, or like when they were on the ground, you just start slashing at them. Whereas now the knife has durability, which gets used up when you stab an enemy that's on the ground that's about to transform into something harder to deal with, or you can use it to parry almost any attack, like pretty much anything that's coming at you. If you time it right, you can parry and not take damage.
Even some things you shouldn't be able to parry with a knife.
Yes, definitely not. With what seems like quite a small and not particularly defensively helpful weapon, turns out is really bloody useful. And it's just this whole sort of system of like parrying, and just that gives you so much more control. And like if you can get the hang of parrying and know what's going to be coming, like you don't really have to take damage. If there will be people who play this game a lot because, you know, it's a great game. There's loads of like challenges as well in the menu tied to like finish it without healing. Like most Resident Evil games have this, like finish it without saving, healing, going to the merchant, all these different things. And like with this game, more than most Resident Evil games, I'm like, I can kind of see how you do that. Like that situation would be you get really good at the parrying and you don't really have to worry about taking damage. So you wouldn't really need those things. But at the same time, it never feels like it makes the game too easy. And I do think that's where the sort of like bigger waves of enemies and just like how overwhelming the odds feel sometimes, like that's kind of how it balances, and that there's so many enemies that even though your moveset is so much more, you know, you've got so much more power, really, you've got so much more defensive capabilities than you would have done, then you can still overcome that because Leon just has so much more to keep himself safe, essentially, to keep himself going. And it's really, really cool. Like it never stops feeling badass when an attack that you know would be to take off a real chunk of your health, you just sort of deflect it out of nowhere. Like it's fantastic, and it doesn't really feel like the sort of game where you would be parrying, like a third-person shooter, essentially. Like it fits in perfectly. And then alongside that, you've also got things like side questy things that are requests you get, and like for example, like the people remember that there was like blue medallions hidden in the original game, like. They come under these side quests, but there's also loads of different activities and very challenging things a lot of the time, actually, that will come under this, and you'll earn rewards that you can then like trade the gems you're rewarded for this for like special items at the merchant. And there's like it gives you an incentive to sometimes backtrack a bit, to explore a little bit more, and it just adds to the game in general. Like I think it adds a lot of runtime to the game for certain, because I'm certain on the GameCube I didn't play 17 hours plus on my first playthrough.
I'm sure this is longer. I mean, it would stand to reason that it's longer.
Definitely.
It's just, I mean, it's a magic game, and it's still a magic game. It's just, I don't know. We probably could just do an hour on it comfortably. But
especially if we were going to be going into things like spoilers as well, we could probably go 2 or 3.
Yeah, but we're not. So let's move to another game. What else have you been playing, Lyle?
I have been playing Have a Nice Death, which is not just what happens every time I walk into a new room on Resident Evil 4, although, you know, often. It's basically, do you like Dead Cells? Do you want more roguelikes that are like Dead Cells? Here's Have a Nice Death. And it's got a really cool setting of like you play as Death, and you are the CEO of Death Incorporated, which is just some big business that seems to be about how people die. And you go on your roguelike runs, and it's that sort of action roguelike gameplay where you will have plenty of attacks to deal with the enemies, but you also have a dash, and you'll be using the dash constantly because when you dash, you're invincible, and you're gonna have to dodge a whole lot of shit. And it has that sort of like incredibly fluid gameplay that is just exactly what you need from this sort of game. Like you have sort of so much control over your locomotion. You can do this dash. You've got like a double jump. It just feels so good to move about. Like it's one of those games where the controls you start moving and you're like, oh yeah, they got this. This is how I want this to feel.
This is the thing. Like when you open with, do you like Dead Cells? Because for me, like that, it's like, yeah, I do. And there are some very specific reasons. No, yes, but there are some very specific reasons why I like Dead Cells.
Well, there's specific reasons why it's held as the
exactly
that and Hades are like tip top.
Yeah, it's the movement, the feel of the movement, the feel of the combat, the fluidity, the combinations. It's that type of stuff that elevates it amongst, not the bad games, but the good games from the great games. And so I'm guessing from what you're saying, this
is one of the great games. Yeah, definitely. And it has all those roguelike elements you'll want. Like every run you go on, you'll collect different weapons. There'll be some times where you're focusing on like different spells that you can use from like at range, like summoning meteor storms and magic missiles that home in and stuff like that. And there'll be some times where you'll be playing and you'll have like claws that cause bleed damage, but you'll need to get really close to keep the pressure on and that sort of thing. And the way it works with different builds is really clever. So like you'll go in and at the end of quite a lot of the levels, there's this like monster in a coffin essentially that gives you a curse, which is an upgrade because you're death, and I guess curses are good to death. But like you'll get the choice of like 3, 4, or 5 different options, and one will be like all your attacks that are called cloak attacks, where they have like a cooldown to use them, will be like 50% more powerful. So you'll think, okay, well, I can just go down that route. Or there'll be like your spells, or every time you use a spell, it'll make your next attack after a spell more powerful. So you're incentivized to use them, but maybe by powering up the non-spell abilities, then also that buff on top of that will make them like really powerful. And then I think I said in the review, but there was my first successful run. Like there's always in roguelikes a few options you'll get where you won't pick them because you'll be like, this isn't really like, this doesn't feel like the thing that's going to power me up that much. This isn't like my play style or whatever. But the first time I won at the game was I must have just had really like unappealing options for other things, but I kept being offered like every time you go to the shop and buy something, you'll also be healed, and every time you buy a new item, your like max HP will go up, and all these different things. And I was like, okay, well, these all work together pretty well, so I'll just keep getting them. And it all culminated in this build that just like I was prepared, and I beat every boss, and finally after a very long time and a lot of deaths for death, this was just happened to be the combination that worked. And then
what do you call a death?
I don't know. It doesn't go into this in the game, or if it does,
what does it say when you finish? Something to do with paperwork.
Rest in paperwork.
Rest in paperwork. Yeah, because you're back to your
Because you get sent back to your desk.
It's really weird because when I was playing this, the first thing I had it's one of those games. A lot of games look this good. Maybe not this good, but a lot of games look like this in this style, and you're like, okay, I'm interested. It looks good. The concept's good. But until you feel it, you're like, this could be either a 10 or a 1, because if it doesn't control right, like you said, it's dead. Pardon the accidental. And this, like Lyle says, as soon as you pick it up, you're like, oh yeah, okay, no, this is like Dead Cells. But then as you play it, like when you're picking up weapons and stuff, I think I'm a bit more familiar with Dead Cells.
I think so too. Yeah, I played.
But then you're more familiar with
5 hours maybe.
Yeah. I've played up like on every system I own now, I think. It's very similar to Dead Cells. Okay, like even when you pick up pick up weapons in Dead Cells, and it comes up with an options screen, and you can shuffle them about, blah blah blah. It has that, like it's that much like that. Now, at first, I was like, well, okay, I like the style of this game. You know, I like the story. It's very much not like Dead Cells it's kind of silly. And Dead Cells has got some silliness as well in it. This is like the opening cutscene's fantastic. Like it's so. Well, I'd watch a cartoon of it. I'd watch a next show of this thing.
There's like references to like The Office because it's like a workplace setting, and it's just like there's a silliness to it, despite the fact it's kind of like also weirdly a serious topic.
Yes.
Like all the enemies are like based on things that can kill you. So there's like walking cigarettes or burgers and stuff like this, and it's just like.
And some of the bosses are your employees, aren't they? Or are they all your employees? I think they all are, probably.
I think so, yeah.
It would make sense. But, like, it throws characters at you as well, doesn't it? Like, when you first run through and you're meeting... I genuinely would watch a Netflix show of this. Seriously. Like, it's got so much character. But again, until you play it, and Lyle's said it, I've said it, it plays... It's on PC and Switch, by the way. It plays so well. But the thing that I had constantly through my time with it, which I will be going back to it, but not as much as Lyle, obviously, is this too much like Dead Cells, right? That kept like a woodpecker in the back of my head almost. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're enjoying it, but... And I thought about it, and it's like, there are some games that you sort of go, this is too derivative, right? And that's just the way it is. I can't... It's a personal thing. This is derivative, of course it is. Like the yardstick is this is a lot like Dead Cells, but here's the thing: I don't think many people have done that. So I'm okay with it. Well, this is what I don't think anyone's gone. I'm going to. Do you know how so Gears of War was the one I always remember back in the 360 days when all of a sudden every game had an active reload. Okay.
Yeah.
And there was a game, I think it was called Inversion. I think where you go upside down and stuff, and it was like it had the active reload. So everyone's like, "Oh, Gears Combat." It was fine. The game was okay. It wasn't Gears of War good, but everyone was doing it, and people still do the active reload. It's still a thing. It changed the industry. Dead Cells is that good. It's a bit like the Breath of the Wild thing. It took a long time for another game to try anything like that, and I would say the closest was Elden Ring had a go at it, and did it really well. So you're like, I'm fine with it sort of taking that kind of quiet discovery because no one's done it like that. No one else has achieved this. And I think that's what this is.
I think Immortals did well. But yeah.
Yep, no, yeah. And again, that's a good example. Incredibly derivative of its forebears, but done really well. And really enjoyable game. Yeah. Really enjoyable game that I played from start to finish, loved it. Always meant to do the DLC, never got round to it. This is kind of that. But I'm fine with it because I don't think Hades... Like Hades and Dead Cells are the two, but they're also really different.
Yeah, they're sort of like
same genre,
sub-genres or something.
They're like the king of each of their sub-genres. Yeah,
definitely.
And this is like this does Dead Cells, but it does it like incredibly well with a great art style, with humor, with a character, with it looks beautiful. I know people are going to look at it and go, yeah, but it's that monochromatic thing, and it doesn't do. It still looks beautiful. It looks better when you're not playing it, actually, because like watching the footage that we're showing you right now, I'm noticing the backgrounds and stuff. I just
you don't really get a chance to keep an eye on everything, do you?
No, because it's too much is going on. So even like watching the footage back for the video review and stuff, I'm like, oh, this game's really striking looking. And again, I know there's probably people going, oh yeah, but there are a dime a dozen these 2D, but it does it all really well. There's no, I haven't played enough to even say I have much to complain about. Like, I kind of, to be honest with you, my only complaint is that I kind of think I just want it on a handheld because then I would have absolutely thrashed it to within an inch of its life.
Because I've played on Steam Deck, and that was
exactly that. I couldn't get it running on Steam Deck. That was a really weird thing we had. I haven't tried it now; it's out. I could not get it to boot, and yet you were there, literally playing the whole game on Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So God knows what my son's done to my Steam Deck is all I'm thinking.
It was a weird one. The only thing I could think as well is in that sort of discussion of this sort of like Dead Cells subgenre type of roguelike is there's also Astral Ascent, which is early access currently.
But also really good. Really good.
Also really good. Yeah. Very much in that same style. That's another game I'm really looking forward to, like fully releasing this year. I think I previewed it a couple of times, maybe.
It was ages ago. It feels like that first early access. But with Dead Cells, for example, like it's kind of like the Breath of the Wild 2 now Tears of the Kingdom thing. I know not so much for you, Lyle, but for people like Chris and I, if you're to go, oh yeah, but it's just going to be more Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, sorry. Oh, you meant that was a bad thing for some reason.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay. And this is not like more Dead Cells because it's different developer, different publisher, but it does have such a similarity that it feels that good.
It is right when you say like more of that thing. It's like, but what people would don't understand sometimes is like it's how those games control and make you feel when you're playing them, and so obviously I don't just want the same game of Breath of the Wild. Do I want Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom to make me feel the way Breath of the Wild did? Yes, and if it does, fucking brilliant. Like that, and that's the thing. Like if game is making you feel like the way when Dead Cells did, which is like, this is awesome, feel like a badass, and all that sort of stuff, then that's it, right? And so it's about how you feel when you're playing it, right? And you're capturing the magic of stuff. I know you're not on the same page with Breath of the Wild, lad, but
but I get the point. It makes sense regardless, definitely. I mean, it's also like if someone ordered me a pizza 2 weeks after I had a pizza, I wouldn't be like, oh, more pizza.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
no, that's great.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I hate having lots of nice things.
Yeah.
I will only have one of every nice thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not as good.
It's not quite as good.
Every pizza I've had ever since the first pizza I had has been incrementally worse than the first.
Just derivative.
Yeah, you never quite like the first pizza. But before we get to listen to correspondence, I won't talk about this game for too long because I know I'm the only one who's played it currently, and it's out today, and I won't be spoiling anything. But I do want to just briefly mention Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and The Lost Demon, because I kind of am a bit surprised by it, if that makes sense. Like it's obviously another game actually that looks startling in how pretty it is. It's such a lovely looking game. But it was one of those where when I'd finished it, and again, no spoilers, so don't panic, I'm not going to say anything about the ending, but when I finished it, I was kind of left wondering, what do I want next from Platinum? Because obviously Bayonetta 3 was such a kind of, it's never coming out, is it? And then it did come out and it was terrific, but it was messy. Then suddenly, so quickly, we've got another Bayonetta game, but it's so different. I don't know what I want next. I don't know if I want another Bayonetta, or I want, because I think there's a lot of scope, having played this, for more Bayonetta Origins games, and I really enjoyed it because it's kind of a Metroidvania. It's kind of an isometric action game, but weird. It's just got the controls. Well, look, the one thing I do want to mention actually, and I'd be remiss of me not to say before we kind of do get onto listener correspondence, is that there is a demo of this available, right? And I definitely say to go and have a look at it because you can get the feel for the art style and everything. But I haven't played the demo, but from my understanding, it's like the opening few chapters. Now, the only thing about this game is it takes quite a while to get going. So if it's only chapter 1 and 2, I think there's actually genuinely a possibility that demo could do more harm than good. Because that's like an hour of the game or whatever it is. And it picks up and picks up and picks up, and it adds skill trees and it layers combat on top, and you got elemental stuff that's layered on top. But all of that it's like any video game. It's progressive through the game. It doesn't happen immediately. You're not like super powerful at the start. I also think that this game borrows a little bit from Breath of the Wild as well, because it's got these things called Tierna Nogs, which are essentially Breath of the Wild style shrines. You find them in the world and you go into them. Some of them are like you have to go in, some of them are optional, like so you go back and find more later. And inside these there's like combat trials or puzzles, and again, like the shrines in Breath of the Wild, like that kind of thing. And it also seems to, like, I know obviously it's not Nintendo developed, but it doesn't half feel like they've borrowed some cues from the Breath of the Wild soundtrack. Like it can be kind of silent, and then you open a chest and you get like a little tinkle on the piano. And it does that kind of thing, that sort of wistful, pretty piano playing, and I really was just taken with it. Like I just kept coming back for more and more. I was like, I really like this game. It's a decent length. I will say I played it over a long period of time, so I'm actually not sure 100% how long it is, but I'd say it's like 10 to 12, probably the upper scale of that, and that's if you didn't do much exploring, which you will. I really like the Bayonetta that they've put in this game. She's obviously a young girl, and like I like her story in this game. And I love that the narrator does the voice of Cheshire. So Bayonetta's voice is Bayonetta's voice. She speaks in the game, and there's a narrator, like as if telling you, it's all storybook style. And she does like the voice of Cheshire, and it's so funny. Like I can't, I'm not even going to try and do it justice. But every time she would voice Cheshire, I was like, "That's banging. That's so good." All the voice work seems good. The music, it's really odd because Bayonetta 3, great game. I think I scored them both 9 actually, but it did have messy elements to it. It felt like it was messy. This does not. I mean, it feels chaotic because of the combat is like you're literally controlling 2 people at once. It's interesting to me that in like some of the marketing Nintendo talk about like, so the left Joy-Con controls Cereza and the right Joy-Con controls Cheshire. Excuse me. Now, I hadn't put 2 and 2 together and done that in my head. In my head, I was just like, it was more of, do you remember Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons?
Yeah.
It was more that was in my head for the sort of controls. But that's the same thing, really, isn't it? Like, excuse me, I do apologise. But like, it might be a bit much later on in the game. There's an awful lot going on with the controls. Like, there's a lot of enemies on screen, and it does go chaotic. But what I found really interesting was that you feel on the precipice of losing control, but you never quite lose control. And that to me is like, for me, it was when I was like, well, this is Platinum Games' A game. This is their best, their best team, because the best Platinum games are like that. They're chaotic, they're mad, they're messy, but you're in control. And that's like what they do with Nier Automata. That's what you do with the Bayonetta series. Like Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, all the ones that people like the most. They're chaotic, and you feel on the precipice that you're about to lose control and get your ass handed to you, but you never quite fall over the edge. You just retain that control to the point where when you finish that encounter, you sort of go, okay, that was intense. It doesn't go quite as far as some of them do, but you can tell it doesn't because of the art style and the look. It does go places that I was not expecting. I will say that much. It goes places I really didn't expect it to go. Like in the first 5 hours, let's say, some of the stuff that happens later, I was like, okay, well played. People should play this all the way through for some of the mad stuff that happens in this game. But do go try the demo. And it's a cracking game. It's a bit taking me a bit by surprise, if I'm honest with you. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's really, really brilliant. So yeah, go and have a look at Bayonetta Origins. Video reviews on this channel if you're watching us. But apart from that, it's time for
Listen to Correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okie dokie then. Right. Let's get into listener correspondence. So Corsica, Mick, who I should say is giving us a super chat quite a while ago, actually, just with the word croissant.
Does he want everyone to say the word croissant? Well, I've just said it.
Croissant. I think I said croissant before, like
croissant.
Some weirdo, but whatever. It's my questions first. So, do you want to start?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, Chris, what would it take for you? What would it take for Wanted Dead to fix for you to revisit and play it again?
Oh God, just tear it down and start again. No, okay, right. So, like, I think it needs to remember why it was fun in the first few levels and kind of like remember that in the later levels, because it got so convinced with itself that Bullet Sponge after Bullet Sponge was fun, and it just isn't. And it just became repetitive and dull and finicky, and fix the camera as well, and not let it do its own sort of breakdancing while I'm trying to play. And then maybe, but I don't know what could happen. I don't know what update would have to come out for that game for me to go, well, up for that now. I think it's a bit,
because I would go back to it if they updated it with 3 simple words: proper easy mode.
Maybe, but for me,
I'd play it tomorrow. I really like the style and everything of that game, but
I maybe would. But do you know what? I'd also be annoyed that that's the thing I have to do to enjoy this game. When I enjoy this game,
that is a window into you more than you know. That is because I'm like, yeah, I'll play easy.
But no, I'm always one of these people.
That might be the new title. That was a good title.
Like I know Lars pretty similar as well in this. Like, I always play a game on normal. The first time I play through a game, it tends to be on normal because I'm like, that's the way the developers intended it. So I'll try it there. And I enjoyed this game. Like we said when we talked about it before, I was like waxing lyrical and was like, I'm having so much fun with gaming.
You had a journey with this game, I'll grant that.
They'd nailed it. It was like, it's really good fun. They've got a really good mix of stuff going on. And then they just went, fuck you. And that's the bit that annoys me. So I don't think if they just went, we're throwing an easy mode in. I don't want that. I want the normal mode to be better balanced, than it is. That's what I want. I don't want you to go.
I'm going to stop you before you get upset. And ask you the next question.
Yeah. This the correspondence becomes 3 hours of me.
The next question is quite a simple one. Is there anything you're grabbing this month, March, except for Resident Evil 4? And that's an opportunity for me to say that go to godisgeek.com, and on the main page, if you're browsing via web, not mobile, you'll see a release calendar where you can check out all the stuff that's coming in March.
I think for me, it's a lot of the games we've talked about recently. So it's Have a Nice Death and Bayonetta Origins I've got my eyes on.
I know the one you want, but you can't play and probably won't justify the cost of. Dark Pictures Switchback VR.
I definitely won't be spending £500 for that. I look at that and go, I really want to play it because it's like the game for me because like a love letter to Dark Pictures. But and then Paranormal Sight is the other one I've got. I've just been resiing. So like,
and Octopathing.
And Octopathing. My God, that game. Yes. So they've been my two. So
that's banned. Topic. We're not allowed to talk about that game while I'm not playing it.
Okay.
It's banned.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So they're the games I've got my eye on, and they've come strongly recommended from the site. So I feel like quite different, but like they're the ones I've got my eye on.
I've sort of had to read this question twice just to be sure I am asking the right one because something about it is weird. What's your favourite kind of bread to eat on its own?
This feels like quite a sad question. I feel like, I just live a little.
So are we assuming literally dry bread?
Yeah.
Or do we mean just bread without anything? Like you can butter it, but it's just the bread. Are we saying actual
I read
dry
it,
bread?
Not allowed butter. I mean, I think my answer would still be quite the same, whether it's butter or not.
Well, what is it? Go on.
And it's like, it's probably like a freshly baked crusty baguette or something. Or
it's
pretty crusty.
So it's still warm, and you can basically hollow it out and
that kind of one. Yeah,
have a bread
do
sleeve.
Getting the bread out.
Yeah.
Is it cheating to say garlic bread?
I'm sticking it up a cow's. Sorry,
what?
Carry on.
Wait, well, no. Go. What'd you say?
Well, how vets have to
I
stick their
got
hands
it.
up. Anyway.
Is it cheating to just say garlic bread?
I mean, I think it is, but it's a good answer.
I'm annoyed that that's a really good answer because I think that's technically allowed in the question. The grammar of the question.
Bread.
I have not done anything.
Bread.
In the spirit of the question, it is like saying bread that you have done nothing to. Now, garlic bread, a lot of it. I tell you what, Aldi do a great one, frozen. You just stick it in.
Supermarket brands are available.
Yeah, they are, but I shop at Aldi. I'm fucking not that well off, mate. Sorry, but you stick that straight in the oven, and it's actually genuinely really nice. It's really nice. It comes out soft. Stick it straight in the oven, and it comes out quite soft but crispy. Like you want it. But I don't do anything to that.
No, that's what I mean. I think actually it's a good answer. It's a better answer, but I think if you're just going for dry bread, which why you'd ever should go to snack, then it would have to be like crispy homemade.
But then does that mean I can't have tiger bread?
That's a bread. That's a plain bread. That's fine.
But tiger bread on its own, I would eat. Like that's fine.
Yeah, totally.
I'd put butter on tiger bread.
No, sorry. I'm not saying I would choose not to. I'm
just
saying
ignore it from below.
The point is, Nick's weird for eating bread on its own. Put some butter on it.
Sorry.
Butter your baguette.
So, what's another one? I mean, sourdough, because it doesn't taste like bread. I could eat sourdough on its own. So, I mean, like, could you, this is really tangential, but could you eat a dry cracker without any problem?
Yeah.
Would you enjoy it? Because I'm going to say this, I have eaten dry crackers out of choice.
Yeah, I have. I have them as a snack. Normally what happens, right, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
I'm
suddenly not.
No, so I normally have these like cheese oatcakes at home. And,
okay, I'm in so far.
Yeah, they're good, and Matilda likes them. Okay. So, but they're mine. But obviously she likes them, so she has them because she has them as part of her snack. It's about 8 meals a day. greedy cow, man. So then I go to the cupboard and go, just fancy a pack of cheese oatcakes, and the cupboard's bare. You know, you can tell I'm wasting away. So like, there'll be some crackers. I'm like, no, do you know what? I'll have a few crackers, and actually, I quite like them. I don't mind them with like butter and cheese on, but like, I will have them dry. Like,
I hope we're still doing this podcast when what you've described stops being cute. Because I've hit that. Like, I've gone to the fridge and gone, do you know, I really fancy a bake. Oh, there's none. Do you know what? Fine, all right. Well, at least I can have some orange. Oh, no, I can't. Like, when your daughter is of the age where everything's like, yeah, but she'll laugh. Yeah, no, it's cute.
The thing is, at the moment, we're like getting her food. They're not. Yes. You don't just go to the fridge and it's been taken. Like, you're not in control of your own stock control, right?
Yeah.
So like that's like your inventory in the fridge. Like, so that would wind me up. Be like, where are my pissing oatcakes? Like that.
It's like, when you really fancy something. That's when it kills me. I can deal with it. I can deal with it if it's just like, well, look, they're gone. But when you just sit there and you go, God, I really fancy a bacon sandwich. I haven't had a bacon sandwich in fucking... Nope. But I bought it. I bought it the other... Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Do you know what? I'll have lunch now and I'll buy some bacon and I'll have it for breakfast tomorrow morning. And the next morning...
Already gone. It's like they know.
They must have eaten it raw. Like, someone's eating this raw. Because
there's no pans being used.
I'm turning the cooker off. I'm turning the electric off now. Anyway. Your last question is, how are you finding Metroid Fusion on Nintendo Switch Online? This feels a little bit underhanded.
It does a bit.
I mean, I'm not.
Fair enough.
It's a really good game, though. It'd be a good one to get time for.
I imagine it's the same. It's the same game, right? It's just now on Nintendo Switch Online. I mean,
yeah, but I will say that's the more they add to that, the better that sort of whole system service becomes.
Not
like, I was playing Mario. What was it we were talking about, Lyle? The not lost levels, but
Mario Advance for Mario 3.
Oh, 3, the 3 thing. Yeah. We were talking about it.
Yeah, that's right. We've all been, And I was playing them, and I was sitting there just knocking a few. Well, no, I'm not going to say that. I was playing a few different levels each night. And it's like, this still feels great, and I'm fine. Also, I'll be honest with you, people moan about that service, but for a family, if you do the family thing and just share it with your mates, it's pretty fucking good, actually.
I couldn't possibly comment on the
not that we'd ever do
something
that.
like that.
Possibly comment on that. Yeah. But I mean, I will probably play it eventually. Like, I like Metroid games. Metroid Fusion is not the best Metroid game. It's not the best 2D Metroid game, but it's all right, you know. So at some point, maybe I'll get to it, but there's other games I'd play above it. I've already listed some of them.
Yeah. Okay, that's your question. So back to you, mate.
Right. So Lyle, Ada Wong in Resident Evil 2 Remake or Resident Evil 4 Remake? Don't think, just answer.
Okay, I'm going to say 4 because, I mean, I didn't play very much of 2 Remake. I don't think I saw Ada in 2 Remake.
Oh, okay.
It was before I was excited and kept
no image whatsoever.
Yeah. So like it's either a blank picture or the one I saw like a week ago, and it's like, yeah, okay, that one I guess. It's fine.
Cool. Here we go. What indie horror game set in a museum from publisher Playism that recently released are you looking forward to playing next?
That question, he could have gone one further and he could have said, what indie horror game set in a museum from publisher Playism that's only got 2 letters in it released recently that you're looking forward to playing next? Because I know exactly what he means, because he's been trying to get me to play it too.
He's trying to get everyone to fucking play Ib. Yeah, do you just say Ib? Is that how you say it? Probably.
See, I assumed it was Ib and not like pounds. But no, I was thinking, like, LB pounds.
Pounds.
Like pounds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
£1.
Yeah.
God only knows.
Yeah, he says it's good, so I would kind of like to play it, but it's a bad time to be playing games right now. Like, I'm taking a week off in a week, essentially, and I'm trying to clean up everything I'm currently doing. So taking new stuff on is it's been very difficult for me. I'm not used to saying no to games. I usually just say yes and then eventually go, oh fuck, I've ruined this, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've been saying no, so sorry Ib pounds.
I think I know the answer to this question, but
I'd like to think he won't go for the question. I'd like to think he won't go for the obvious answer.
I was going to go. I was thinking the obvious. If not,
I've not pre-read this, so I'm worried.
In my head. Now that you've beat Resident Evil 4 and reviewed it, what's a game out this year that you'd like to review, given the choice? No pressure, Adam.
Okay. I mean,
there's no pressure because if he says the one I suspect
which
he will, it doesn't matter. He's not. I am.
Yeah. I mean, okay, this is difficult because there's one answer I can give that's like, it's the one I'd like to do because it'd be funny, and it would be a bad decision on Adam's part to let me do it, which is Tears of the Kingdom, obviously.
Yes.
But it would be interesting, and maybe I'd love it. Like, I may not have the highest opinion of Breath of the Wild, but I might end up loving the sequel. I'm going to play it. I'm excited. Like, I love Zelda. Before Breath of the Wild especially, I really loved Zelda. And that's why it hit so hard against my poor heart, that my favourite series changed a bit and wasn't quite what I loved about it. But, I mean, realistically, if I'm sort of going for, like, the dream thing to review that I think, like, you know, wouldn't be bad for the site if I reviewed it.
Have a chance.
Yeah, I'd probably say Final Fantasy 16 because, like, that's a bit exciting, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if it'll happen. I don't really know what happened that meant that I got to review Resident Evil 4. Like,
the scary thing is nothing. You just asked, and I'm like, I'm a nice person. I'm playing a character on this podcast. In real life, I'm just a nice person. I vaguely remember you saying you tell me the games you'd like to review. And it was on the list, I think, and I just thought, fair enough, why not? You're trustworthy. It's not like I was not being funny with Resident Evil 4 as well. It's one of those games where it's like they'd have to have fucked it up something rotten.
Yeah, whoever reviews it is going to give it like at least a 9,
unless they like really messed it up.
Unless it went bad.
And also, to be fair, like I'm playing it, but my memory, I was talking to Chris before the podcast. 2005 was very like child heavy for me in terms of years, and I think that's why I am playing this. And there were definitely bits of it where I'm like, oh yeah, but there's also a lot of it where I'm like, I must have been so out of it because I know I played this through several times, but I don't remember shit. So like it felt it wouldn't have been right for me to do it. And, you know, the secret, I guess, now people reveal on the podcast, Lyle's my favourite. So it's
yeah, we all know now.
Tune in next week for
Two-man.
Lyle's listener correspondence.
Yeah. Oh, that would be... You should have said that. I could have gotten to Steve and that would have been a good gag. I was yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so it's your question now, mate.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got a choice here. AirPods Pro without noise cancelling for a better battery life, or AirPods normal to save a few quid.
Normal. So the AirPods Pro, the noise cancelling is magic, and that is the only reason I would wear them, because you know the in-ear head. I don't know what you guys feel about. I mean, we're obviously wearing sort of cans and like old-fashioned ones, but for terms of in-ear ones, the in-ear headphones with like the plasticky socks on them, that like the ones that make you hear your own breathing.
Yeah.
I generally don't like that.
I can't.
I don't like hearing.
I don't like my breathing at the best of times.
But I also don't like the world being shut out that much. Like, because if I'm walking the dog or something and I've got them in, I like to be able to be a bit more aware. You know, I'm not saying I'm going to get jumped or anything in them. But, I mean, it's possible. Who knows? But the AirPods Pros, certainly the newer models, the noise cancelling is like magic on those things. They've done something since to update them that I've seen a lot of reports of people saying it's got worse. But when I first put them in, I walked the dog and it was like silence. You can have the music off, just have them in, and it turns like the noise cancelling on. And it was like I couldn't hear cars going past next to me on the road. Like, it was insane, the noise cancellation there. But I prefer just earbuds, if that makes sense. Like, I prefer just normal, you know, pop them in your ears. I'm trying to look around and see if I've got a pair handy, but I haven't. But I like the ones where you just sort of pop them in your ears and they can, you know, you can hear other things around you.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I don't tend to like the ones that like really stick in your ears like that. I know they're very fashionable and they're popular, but I'd rather, if I can't have the noise cancelling, then I would just go normal AirPods. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. You're still muted, Chris, just so you know.
I'm not.
No, he
definitely are.
Is for me. I can hear it.
I'm not muted.
I can't hear Lyle now either.
Oh, God.
Okay, right.
So you two talk among yourselves, and I'll try and work it out.
Do.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty awkward because it's Adam's
the wrong way round.
Yeah, if only we'd asked Adam's questions earlier, it would have been fine. Okie doke. I mean, what we could do is we could skip a question, actually, and Adam can chip in later with his point of view. So McPoo asks, who'd win a physical test of strength, endurance, and virility between the three of us?
Which is an interesting question.
Is it a three-part question, or is it if you were measuring all these things together, there's one eventual winner?
Yeah. It's tough, that, isn't it? That's a really difficult question, because virility, right? That's the odd one out here that we have to really think about.
It's the one where your attention gets drawn to the most, right?
It is. And as the token asexual of the podcast, I feel virility isn't really my strong suit.
I mean, I don't want to be harsh.
Yeah.
But if I came last out of the three of us in that category, behind you,
it would feel.
I feel like I'd
quite unfair.
I feel like I'd be getting bullied a little bit.
Yeah. So if we're stacking them all up, I'm at like a third disadvantage, essentially, is what we're saying. So it depends how good.
I genuinely don't know what they've just been saying. I can hear them again now. But
we skipped a question. We had some technical issues, so we skipped on to. We'll come back to your questions in a minute.
All right.
But we skipped on to starting to talk about McPoo's question about who'd win in a physical test of strength, endurance, and virility between the three of us.
You did that while I couldn't hear, did you?
No, well, we did. We haven't finished it.
Okay. Please carry on. I shall just watch.
We've jumped straight to virility as we should, and we were discussing the fact that obviously Lyle is asexual. So if I lost in virility,
obviously, did I miss the bit?
Very obvious.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. What I mean is, he said it a few moments ago, so now it's obvious. That's what I mean. Not look at him, he's asexual. That's what I meant. I'll just keep digging this hole, shall I?
Can I please request that the podcast title be "Look at Him, He's Asexual"? Now, please.
So I was merely pointing out, if I came ranked third behind Lyle in virility, then that would be.
Yeah,
why would you not be having a bad day?
Why would you not be first?
I don't think I'm first in any of these, am I?
Okay, right. Well,
I mean, I'll just lay my cards on the table. Surely you win all three of these.
I mean, I didn't want to be the one to say
no.
But that's made my fucking year.
The only way you don't win all three of these is if Mick's on the pod.
Yeah, Mick would make this an unfair question.
I'd beat Mick for endurance, but virility, I mean, hasn't he got like 9 kids?
Yeah,
I mean, not that that's a sign of it.
The ones we know about.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
9 minimum.
Come on, the man's not here. I don't know. I think Lyle could be stronger than I was going to say than he looks. It's the shirts, man. It's the shirts.
Obviously asexual and looks puny as fuck.
I mean, what do we? Hang on. It does say physical test of strength. I was going to say what we measure in strength in, but it does specify. Inner strength. I'm definitely. Yeah. Who'd win in a physical? I think I'd definitely win endurance because I think the years of being a postman, like my endurance is very high.
Yeah, my only thought on that was endurance is the only category I kind of back myself a bit in because I push a wheelchair up a footload of hills all the time.
And to be fair, I've atrophied. Like my muscles are not what they were. My legs are not what they were. I wouldn't. I think. I mean, are we just talking about general endurance? Or are we like, if you don't keep going, you will die? Because if it's that, if the stakes are that high, I would back myself in any of them. But if we're just talking general endurance, I wouldn't back myself now. I would have then, not now.
I get out of breath tying a belt. So I'll probably go last.
Tying your belt? What?
Well, whatever. Sorry, putting on a belt.
Sticking a rope round there and
I meant to say tightening it. Sorry,
okay, fine. That makes more sense.
Like a shoelace. Yeah,
actually, it does make sense, but it's way worse because that's just like doing that. You can't see. But
that was the point. Like, I'd like to think people don't think that I'm like, if he stands up too quickly, he's gonna fucking faint.
No, I've been in your presence. You're fine at walking. Man gives good hugs and he's good at walking.
Walking 8 out of 10.
No, you literally said to me the other weekend, you're like, we're going for a walk. And I'm like, wow, fucking hell, he's doing what? I don't do that. Well, apart from when I have to. I'll take the win. I don't think. Let's give Lyle endurance, because you do a lot of walking.
I've got no strength or endurance. And I just think you're sex mad, aren't you?
I reckon that sounds about
all right. What's any more questions? I genuinely think
yours. We'll come back
I genuinely think that Lyle would win endurance because he does push a wheelchair around a lot. He does. You don't drive, do you, Lyle? Or you don't have. No. So you go somewhere. You either have to walk or get public transport, which builds up another kind of endurance.
And I don't think I've been on public transport for like 4 years, so just walk, really.
If it was
didn't he do one of those things where like on those like children in need things where he walked 10 miles to pick up some potatoes?
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah,
I used to do that regularly, but I think again, if we're talking gun to the head, I think I might be able to make a comeback. But right now, my endurance would not be.
And I'm fine with admitting that peak Adam Cook could take me. That's fine.
I mean, that man can just walk through walls, but I don't know what happened to him, really. Well, he got even fatter, I think. What are the other questions then? Go on.
Okay, so
how did I go from being like, to like, what once was like, I was so that was so someone else before I had to say a single word. He goes, I think Adam wins all, and I'm like, and then I'm just straight away like,
yeah, he literally like, hang on a minute, let me just clarify how shit I am.
I did it to myself as well. I think I did it to myself. I think if I'd just gone, thank you very much, we would have. I think I did that.
Yeah.
And also, I would like, not that I think it's untrue, but I just like to point out, no one backed me in any of them.
Well,
no one even said, but have you thought about it from this angle? Because in this, and if you squint hard enough, you may become second in this category. But everyone just went, he's out of the way.
We agreed that you were second in virility.
Okay,
that's true. And I'm going to put myself, I'm going to say actually, as a potential, I might be third for endurance because as an older person, I cannot do without sleep. And that's something you're familiar with than I'm not. And I could not do that now, and that is a different form. There's a reason sleep torture's used. Oh god, this has gone so dark.
Yeah.
From a torture perspective.
Sleep torture's next to waterboarding
are the top two. Anyway.
But yeah, I would say that endurance-wise, you're
just lowering you.
I'm tetchy if I'm woken up at 7 now. I used to get up at 4:30. Now, if I am not allowed to, because I've not been funny, I work from home. I should, as long as I'm up and ready to go, that's fine. It's like the other morning the phone went, and I was like, I want a fucking name. I want a name.
Full name and address of this person.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll be implied by saying person there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Go on. So I'm going to put myself in third for endurance. And now, questions. Sorry.
Questions from Mick were. Top 3 PSVR 2 games right now that you think justify the purchase for a PS5 owner.
Okay, as listener correspondence man, I need to be sure, just very brief housekeeping. Are we talking that they are buying the whole thing, shebang new, they haven't played any PS5 games?
My understanding is they've played PS5 games and they're a PS5 owner. These are the PSVR 2 games that are going to convince you to justify buying PSVR 2.
The reason is it's a complex question that I will try and answer succinctly as I can. It's complex because I don't like really, really long VR games. I don't want to spend 20 hours in VR. I'm like, so recently the Supermassive one, it was like 4.5 hours it took to finish it. There's multiple routes to go back and play more. That's fine. Banging. It's great length for a VR game. I appreciate that confuses some people because a lot of people conflate length of something with value for money.
Yeah.
I've seen the comments on the video review like, oh yeah, it's only 4 hours long and it's this much. It's like 30 quid. It's like, it's VR. Like,
yeah.
Because we are getting to also a point where you used to have the caveat VR games saying that's a really good game for VR. Okay?
Yeah.
That's kind of starting to be in the distance. Half-Life Alyx helped that sort of thing. That was Valve going, we're making a new Half-Life. And it's VR, and people were furious about that. So, all these caveats in mind, the Zombieland game is one I will not delete off my hard drive. It's fantastic. It's proper arcade fun. It's great fun. It's fast. It feels good. It's arcadey. I would have to go Rez or Tetris Effect. I'd have to. They are two of my favourite games. I would probably say Rez. I think Rez is more enhanced by the VR than Tetris Effect, which is Tetris, but with pretty... you're surrounded. So Rez, I think GT7, that game is insane in VR. That is like the fidelity, everything. I would say Switchback VR is in the list, if not for those three, because it makes use of the stuff like the don't blink stuff. and it's just a damn good time. But like I would say, I've already got a shooter in there. Zombieland is the one for me. So Zombieland, Gran Turismo 7, and
Res.
Yeah, I think Res. I can't not. Yeah, so there you go. Easy, done.
Cool. Is extra cheese on pizza a scam?
It's a weird question.
With your
I get it.
Your expanded insider knowledge of the pizza industry.
Yeah, no, I get the question. I don't know.
I've never bought it.
I have, and I don't remember feeling hugely impressed. And I actually remember thinking this is too much cheese. Now I can't taste anything but cheese, which would be fine because cheese is fantastic. But I don't know. Is it?
I always find like when it's like if say most pizzas from a pizza pizza shop, like a takeaway or whatever, like say they have like as a default like 5 different toppings.
Yes.
Right, let's just say. And then if it's like 3 say meats and then double cheese, I'm like fuck off. Just put like more pepperoni on or something. Like I always feel like it's a cop out to say, don't worry, we're going to put some more cheese on it. No, put some more meat on it or something else, like I don't know, peppers or onions or something on it. So I always steer away from those because I guess I feel subconsciously it is a little bit of a scam. I'm like, there's plenty of cheese on there already. You're really going to double the cheese and it's going to be like come in and it's just like proper like cheese overload. I never feel like it is. It's going to be like, I've just sprinkled a little bit more on, like whatever.
I have seen someone order a double cheese pizza though, and it seemed like the cheese was like double the thickness of the crust, and thought, Jesus fucking Christ, what have you done?
Yeah, so I've never had like I have had a shit pizza before, but like where you would order pizza like from and buy pizza, very rarely do I go, this needs double the cheese. Like more unless you're buying like a really like I don't know, like a cheap value pizza where you may have to add a little bit more on. Like if you're buying a normal pizza or whatever, I've never gone to your point, Lyle. Oh, this needs double the cheese.
Where do
on
you
it.
stand
It's a good
on?
ratio.
Where do you both stand on both a stuffed crust with cheese or a quattro formaggio pizza?
I appreciate the accent.
So 2 questions.
The virility at play.
Stuffed crust with dip win.
What dip were we having with the stuffed crust?
Garlic and herb.
So are you gnawing down to the pizza like it's a carrot, like and then just keeping the?
Oh, you see, now this is where I'm gonna make enemies here because I do it weird.
Good.
So I eat the crust first. So I tear off the crust, dip it in the sauce.
What's he doing?
You tear off the crust.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, just to be clear, only if it's stuffed crust.
No, if it was non-stuffed crust, I'd also be tearing off the crust and dipping it in the
So when we had pizzas, you were being a really good boy and eating like with knife and fork.
Right. No, but to be clear, we were in a fucking restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? So I eat it with a knife and fork because I'm not a caveman.
Like, so if you're at home, you and your missus have gone, right, kid, she's asleep, let's have a pizza. We've got Domino's, we're going to meet you, right?
Yeah.
Other pizzas are available.
But they're not being bought.
No.
Yeah.
So you've got this pizza. You sat there with your lovely wife, and you're going at the pizza. Just to be clear, we're not talking about virility again. Yeah. You picked up the pizza, placed a bit on. Do you use a plate? You must use a plate if you're, which is fine. Nothing against plates. Just to be clear.
Why must you?
Talk us through it. Talk us through it, like step by step.
So more often than not, I'll have, if it depends, right? But more often than not, we'll be sitting. If I have a pizza, we'll be sitting in the lounge. We might, I don't know, watch an episode of Last of Us, something, right?
Yeah.
At the moment, if we're having a pizza tonight, we're not. And I've got a little tray, like an old woman, that I put. I mean, like the ones that are molded.
This is getting better and better and better.
That are molded, but the ones that like the bean bag sort of material underneath, so it molds to your fat legs, right? And then I'll just put the pizza box on top. Like, why? You don't need a plate.
Oh God!
Like,
okay, so you've got the pizza.
I've got the pizza.
We've established the bits you didn't even need to tell us, but we've established
you've got a plate, and I'm like, no.
No, I've got my fat leg tray.
Yeah.
So you've got so I'm guessing because like this is one thing I miss about. Like, we've got a dog now. Is that I would love to just sort of stick the pizza on a table and just everyone, like a coffee table, and no, it's got to go up there because otherwise no one's getting in it. So you've got let's presume you've got it like on a buffet or some sort of,
Have it on the floor.
No,
being so
you
fancy.
could.
We have our own pizzas.
Oh, okay. So you've got. Now I am a little confused. So you've got the tray and the pizza box on the tray.
Yeah, because I don't want to put the pizza box on my jeans because then they might get greasy. So I've got the
airs
the tray
and graces
as the
of this fucker. I tell you, it's unbelievable. No, I'm joking. That's fine. That's understandable. Okay, so you've got your tray, you've got your pizzas. But let's get into the pizza. You've gone in for a slice. What are you doing?
I've gone in.
You've gone in for a slice.
In for the slice.
So I get a slice, and then, like I said, I tear off the crust, dip it in the dip, eat it, and then I eat the rest of the slice.
Doesn't that?
Yeah, a little bit. But that bit's the better tasting bit, so I always save it till last because I'm weird.
Yeah.
I knew I'd lose friends with this, but I'm not going to lie. I've got to be true to myself.
I sort of. Has this ever come up in conversation with your wife? Like, you're both sat there and you're enjoying your pizzas. Has she ever sort of gone?
Oh, there'll be hundreds of things she wishes I was different.
Oh, okay. It's just one to add to the list. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, God, yeah.
No, I totally understand that.
Up with me, I've no idea.
No, I 100% understand. I'm not saying your perspective. I'm saying from mine as well. Like, I'm not saying why does she put up with you? I'm saying I get it.
Can't put up with me either. Is that what you?
No,
mean?
that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying. I'm saying I get it 100%. Why does my partner put up with me? I don't know.
Yeah. So but
then I don't do that with pizza. Just to be fucking clear. Just to be absolutely clear, I just pick the piece up and I eat it, and I mean that's the end of the story. To be honest.
Yeah. No, I imagine you guys do the reverse and eat up to the crust and then dip the crust.
The fact you called it the reverse.
I'm sorry.
I get the crust and stick them back on.
Yeah. Just regurgitate up the pizza. No. So
when you tear the crust off, right?
So to be clear, is extra cheese on pizza a scam, Adam?
It doesn't matter anymore.
I don't think it matters. I could not in a billion years have expected this to have come up and you to have. I don't know.
I've got character.
Well, I will say that I would rather be weird than normal in this world. It's always one of those things. There are some things that don't need. It's kind of like how wheels around.
I could have brought up about bread that we didn't talk about.
No, let's
I'm really
save
funny
it.
on.
But it's just like how wheels around, and that's how cars kind of move.
Yes, I'm aware of
and you know how no one's gone. Wouldn't it be? We should try square wheels.
I think they probably did. Like
after the
a
wheels,
fair few years ago, and went, "That's a stupid shape."
Yeah. So. Next question.
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to say.
I really wish you'd done that in the restaurant. I really, really.
Instead of tearing the full knife and fork around
in the restaurant as well.
Yeah.
So when I'd be like cutting off a slice and then eating it with a knife and fork, I'm pretty certain I probably would have eaten the crust of each slice first.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot confirm or deny. I don't remember.
No, but it would have been the same thing. Like, eat the crust first, and then I'd have eaten the main bit.
But with a knife and fork, that is less weird, or at least less noticeable, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and I get that, but it's the same for the same reason. But yeah, no.
Okay, I think it probably is a scam because, like, just get your own cheese. And I mean, I know it's mozzarella, but like, just add a bit of cheddar if you're desperate.
Yeah.
Just like treat it like it's a. If you do, to be honest with you, I feel like if you're ordering extra cheese, you're probably going to the wrong pizza joint in the first place.
Yeah, this is the thing. I feel like you don't need it.
No.
Looking back at Resident Evil remakes, we had 1 remade on the GameCube and then ported, 2 and 3 for PS4, Xbox, and PC, and now Resident Evil 4 for PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, and those last-gen systems. Do you think there's been a big jump from Resident Evil 2 to Resident Evil 4 as you'd hoped for visually?
I don't really think I was hoping for like this massive jump, if I'm honest. Like, I think they've kind of set out their stall with that Resident Evil. Well, it's not called Resident Evil engine, but the RE engine.
That engine is magic, though.
I think they've kind of set their stall out with that engine. I'm sure I played the game that had RE engine. Oh, it was the beta for Exoprimal, and I kind of had forgotten that the RE engine was a thing for some reason for a few minutes, and it's like, oh yeah, that thing. I think they've set.
It's not just for Resident Evil games.
Yeah, but like DMC 5. I'd kind of like. I don't know if you'll be the person to answer this. I'd love them to do a Monster Hunter with that engine. If they're not, I mean, maybe they did. I don't know, but like, no, I suspect they didn't because it was Switch first, wasn't it? But like, no, I wasn't really after a big jump visually. If I'm honest, like I I thought Resident Evil 2 looked phenomenal.
It looked sexy enough. Like I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, this feels like a bit of a."
I think 4 looks phenomenal anyway. So yeah, I mean, I guess the answer is yeah, and let's do Code Veronica next, please, not 5. Or do you know what, Lau? When you mentioned it earlier, I was like, I would play a Resident Evil 1 remake like this.
Yeah,
and in fact, I kind of really want that now.
It would be it's just one where it's like it's weird that it's been omitted, really.
But would we have to review it and call it Resident Evil remake review? Because if they added the lights
remake 2024 or whatever it is, like
do Code Veronica and think about that.
I think Code Veronica. I wouldn't be against a 5 remake.
Yeah, no, 5 is great.
But I would want them to properly fix some stuff.
I want a
justify the remake.
I want
rather
a 6
than
remake, and everyone to have to admit that it was actually a decent game all along.
6? Yeah. 6 is all right. 6, like...
Careful.
It's a different type of game. I mean, it's 3 games in 1. That's probably why. But, like, I enjoyed 6 as a co-op experience with my mate. I did. Like,
same.
If you embrace what it is in the 3 different stories...
It's Dead Space 3 as well. It's the same thing. If you accept that this is not what you were expecting and is more of an action game, co-op designed, it's fine. It's a good game.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes is the answer.
Okay, so then that's the end of mixed questions. We did one of McPoo's because that was the virility question. And then so the last question this week is, would you rather have Left 4 Dead 3, Portal 3, or Half-Life 3?
It's quite tricky, this question, I reckon. They all look quite exciting, in my opinion.
If we were doing a Game of the Year thing, right, and most anticipated, and we were having to vote things out, which would be the one of those 3 you would boot first? Because I know what mine is. That one I can say. I'd boot Left 4 Dead 3. Yeah, that's the one I'd boot first.
Well, I feel like I've already had it.
I think,
exactly.
I mean, for me, of those games, of the games before the 3 that we're saying there, Left 4 Dead 2, I am probably more partial to than Portal 2 and Half-Life 2, realistically. I've played a ridiculous amount of Left 4 Dead 2, but I think after Back 4 Blood disappointed me quite significantly, the idea of them saying right now we're making Left 4 Dead 3, I think I'd be like as concerned as I am excited. Whereas
was it a moment in time? That's why I wonder with those games, were they? Because even though I like Back 4 Blood, it didn't do what that game did for me. It felt like it was very much a...
I mean, I just keep upsetting people to this podcast. I haven't played the Half-Life games, so then it makes it quite easy for me what the answer is.
I guess it does.
And my answer, when I looked at this straight away, was Portal 3. I know that Half-Life and Half-Life 2, I've watched people play them, but I have never played them myself. So I can't have to say, I definitely want to be Half-Life 3 because I don't have that passion for the previous games that you guys would have. I'm sure it'd be fantastic. I know what it is, but like Portal 3 for me.
It's difficult as well because like when I think of Half-Life 3, I can't really wrap my head around what that would really
100%.
feel like and be. Because Half-Life was like seminal, like the first amazing story-based FPS almost, or certainly could be framed like that. Half-Life 2 was like just this big evolution of this genre. It had so many things in that had never been done before. Things like the gravity gun. It had all these vehicle sections that were really that really changed things up, and it just kept things fresh the whole time. But like each one of the Half-Life games has felt so like genre shifting, defining that I don't really like in my head playing a Half-Life 3. It's like it's not going to just feel like.
Do you think it's been too long, Lyle? Do you think it's been too long now?
Maybe.
Because I was thinking, like, what would it be? Would it be like? I mean, don't get angry, anyone listening. Would it be like Atomic Heart? A first-person kind of Bethesda-y kind of long game.
Yeah.
In a dystopian sort of like what? I just think it might have been too long. And I wonder if they know that. And like you said, they'd have to do something. It feels like to me they're a developer that's like, well, we're only going to do this if we can do something that's world breaking, like is just insanely good, and that's why they went with the VR thing and made this game where everyone else now is going, we can make proper video games with a story in VR. I think it's Portal 3 for me.
I think it's Portal 3 for all of us, isn't it? I think it is. I think it's too hard to imagine what Half-Life 3 would even be to be like, this would be really exciting. And it would be too easy for that to feel in some way disappointing, almost. Like, I don't know. It's a hard one to comprehend. It's been so long. And then, whereas with Portal, like, we had Portal 2. I can imagine that another Portal would have these amazing characters, this like really interesting story, and it'd have like fucking mind-blowing puzzly bits. Like I understand what that would be, and I think it'd be fucking great.
Steve Merchant was in Portal 2.
He was.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like it's just. Also, not for nothing, it's the first time I've read this phrase Left 4 Dead 3, Portal 3, and Half-Life 3 ever, and it's just made me suddenly go, do Valve hate threes?
Yeah.
What's going on there? But yeah, it's Portal 3, isn't it? And Universal. Unanimous.
Yes.
And is that all the questions?
That is all the questions for this week, mate. Play the jingle.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
Well, sorry for any technical difficulties you may have heard during the podcast. It was actually, believe it or not, and I know this is going to be quite hard to believe, it was user stupidity on my part, and no actual technical problem had happened. I'll admit this because I'm strong, endurable, and virile. I'll admit this. I accidentally clicked the mute button on...
I knew that's what you'd done to help me out, but like I didn't want to have a go at you because I was like, I can hear Lyle, it's fine. He's clearly done that to help me because I had some issues.
It was exactly that, yeah. It was your fault, is what you're saying. I understand.
Well, I put myself
I accept
on
your
mute,
apology.
So...
No,
me
it
and
was
Lyle
genuinely
covered it in your absence.
It was genuinely
Absolutely
user
fine,
stupidity.
Like pros.
No, I bet you did, and I'll listen back to it now and go, God, they don't even need me. I feel so proud, like a sort of. I was going to say dad, but then I pulled at the last minute. It felt wrong, so.
Yeah.
Thank you to Chris and to Lyle for holding down the fort while I was being an idiot, and for generally being awesome people, and having a good podcast. Thanks to anyone who listened to or watched this week. If you don't know, I'll just remind you again, you can watch us live usually Thursdays, but this time it's Friday, so we can talk about Resi 4. Got loads more to talk about next week. Some really exciting stuff. I can't wait to talk about that stuff. But in the meantime, you can check out our channel and our website for the content when it goes live. Been playing some interesting games lately. You go to patreon.com. That sounded like an order. You can go to patreon.com /GodIsAGeek and find our Patreon there, where you can join our Discord and chat with our lovely community. In fact, who provided the questions this week. So there was you can tell, I think, by those questions that they're a good bunch to have a chat to. Thanks again to Lyle and Chris and to everybody else. We will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye bye for now.